You're watching Meet the Movie Press, and coming up, we're going to be talking about a little movie called Star Wars The Last Jedi, the major Disney Fox deal, and our own top 10 list. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Hello, Simon.
Hey, last show of the year.
Oh my God, I'm gonna miss you, big guy.
I am. It's how many? We got 3 weeks off?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't count.
It's
It's too early in the morning.
I'm going to turn up next Friday anyway, even though the studios are closed.
Just banging on the door.
Just let me in.
Guys, welcome to Meet the Movie Press.
Yep. What a year.
The season finale.
What a year.
I am your host, Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board, tracking-board.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and @TheInSneider. And with me, as always,
Simon Thompson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ShowbizSimon. There's also a Facebook page.
Ooh.
This is Simon Thompson.
All right, big guy.
So,
hey,
yeah.
I saw you Saturday night at the Last Jedi premiere.
Yeah, I know. Hanging out. I was in the areas I was supposed to be in, Jeff. Who went in the VIP area and got thrown out?
That's a bald-faced lie.
You did sneak into the...
all I did was go down a flight of stairs, and then I found myself in the VIP area, and then my buddy and I were like, well, now we can't really leave because we know we'll never get back over on this side of the velvet rope. But after an hour of it, because everybody else was on the other side, we got bored. It was just celebrities talking to each other. We were like, you know what? Let's go be with our own kind.
Well, I was our own kind, the tribes. So I basically was I went in the upstairs area where you could see directly down.
Yeah,
a lot of little chitty chats going on there. J.J. Abrams was in there.
I saw
JJ
everybody.
Was
I mean,
in there, having a chat. Laura Dern was taking
Disney
pictures with
royalty
everybody.
that turns out, whether it's Bob Iger or Kathleen Kennedy or JJ or Jon Favreau, is pretty impressive. Ava DuVernay.
I like the fact that you were standing there with the bucket of popcorn that you got given. Was
so
that...
I know I look ridiculous carrying the bucket around. I definitely do, but it's a souvenir, and I did it the same thing for The Force Awakens. I carried around that fucking popcorn bucket, and I know how stupid I look, but I have it. The bucket from the premiere.
Kind of looked like a tourist.
Yes.
Boyega didn't have a popcorn bucket. Abrams didn't have a popcorn bucket.
Listen, if there was something else, you know.
But maybe they were looking at you going like, that motherfucker's got popcorn. I'd love some popcorn.
It would have been better than some of the
food
premiere.
Was good though.
I didn't love it. I went to and it's like, look at me, I'm complaining about the food at the Last Jedi premiere. Like, what a fucking asshole. But I went to a Marshall reception the other night, a reception for the movie Marshall, and I thought the food was better there.
Okay.
You know, I like burgers, and I'm a simple man.
Yeah.
Burgers and fries and little grilled cheeses.
I'll tell you what you should do on the trackingboard.com. You should
forgot the hyphen.
You need to have a little section on nibbles that you get.
Yes, I should be a food critic.
Them.
That would be rich if anybody out there knows me.
You can call it like rotten tomatoes or something.
Simon, when you snuck up behind me, I thought it was R2-D2 with that chrome dome.
I know. I often get confused, and I sound as manly as C-3PO. Oh.
The security was super intense. I'm surprised you made it through. There were bomb sniffing dogs. There was mirrors underneath the cars.
It was incredibly tight. That security,
but it actually went really smooth. It was much smoother than The Force Awakens.
John Boyega made it, which was good.
All right, so enough of the premiere. We're so coolness. What did you think of the movie?
I really liked it. I'll be honest with you. When it started, and this is going to be no spoilers.
Right, we're not going to do spoilers. But honestly, it's not because of you guys listening.
No,
it's the engineer in the booth.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we didn't want to spoil it for him, so I don't really care about the rest of you.
Well, I do.
And Simon wants Simon will tread carefully here.
Yeah, got to tread carefully.
Okay.
When it started, obviously super psyched to be there. It was an amazing event. A fantastic atmosphere. And it was nice that Ryan dedicated it to Carrie.
That was a very lovely
really,
note.
really nice.
Yes.
That went down well. So the movie starts, and I'll be honest with you, no spoilers, but it starts off with a bit of humor quite early on. Like the first 5 to 10 minutes have a couple of moments of.
There was a lot of
there.
humor in this movie that I didn't love.
Well, I was like, I don't know about this, but it actually really grew on me. Now, Ryan has taken a lot of risks with this movie because It's like when you go and see any franchise film or film in a series, whichever way you want to use the language, and you go and see a Harry Potter movie, you know you're going to get a Harry Potter movie. When you see a James Bond movie, you know you're going to get a James Bond movie. It's going to be much of the same. And I think Ryan's taken a massive risk with this by the fact that this is very different to any of the other Star Wars movies that we have seen. In tone, in pace, its duration, the number of characters that it has in this, and obviously what is going on. There are a number of big storylines here. And some characters that appear and then kind of disappear towards, you know, different parts of the movies. There is a lot to follow. I think this... It's funny, after Force Awakens, a lot of people were crying out for the fact that, oh, that felt like something we'd seen before. Fans loved it. Ryan has taken the risk to do something very different. This is not a Star Wars film that we've had before, which some people will really like and some people will really dislike. I know you've had people who went to see it last night and didn't like it. My brother saw it in London last night. He was like, meh. He wasn't really a big fan because it wasn't a Star Wars movie. It's a difficult line to tread. Do you give them more of the same and people complain that there's nothing different and new, or do you give them something new and risk, take the chance? Carrie Fisher in this is great. They haven't... Obviously, the film was pretty much completed before she died. It was completed, in fact, and so she'd shot everything she needs. So the way that they handle her in the film is very naturalistic, and you're watching it now in hindsight going, obviously, she's no longer with us. But it's interesting to see what they did with her. I feel that there are moments here that don't quite work. Some of the chemistry is not there. I think there are too many characters, some of whom are vastly underused. And I think some of the acting is not consistent. I think there are some characters that are thrown in and featured in the trailer, like the snow animals.
Yeah, the little snow fox.
Kind of wasted, kind of superfluous. But the dynamic and the story I actually really enjoyed. I think there might be moments where I was like, okay, I'm ready for this to move on now. It did feel a little bit, sort of the pace was slightly off in places, but visually I think this is some of the most stunning work that we've seen in the entire Star Wars franchise.
Visually, it's beautiful. Yeah. And I agree with you. I commend Ryan for taking risks with some of this material. Yeah. I think that his cinematographer is Steve Yedlin. Yeah. Yeah, definitely beautiful images. Unfortunately, this movie is easily 20 minutes too long. A Star Wars movie should not be longer than 135 minutes. This movie is over 2.5 hours, I believe. And you definitely feel it. And the second act is stretched thin. I thought I gave the film credit because I thought it took off in its third act. I thought that's when it soared, but it's a long time to wait. Garth Franklin, the proprietor of Dark Horizons, he has tweeted, you know, because there's a big gap between critical response and fan response, both on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. Although I think IMDb it's faring a little bit better. But Garth says you can basically be popular and bland, or divisive and interesting, and he's glad that Ryan went the latter way. Again, I'm not a Star Wars guy, as you all know. I don't really give a shit about this franchise or these characters or anything. It's just not for me. I thought I wasn't sitting there like miserable. I wasn't like not enjoying myself, which is something I think that Ryan does pretty well. Like the pace is relentless. It doesn't slow down at all. No. But yeah, I kind of just shrugged afterwards. I thought it was going to be better. I had really high expectations for it, it being Ryan, and how much drama has been surrounding the other Star Wars project, but there was nary a peep here. Yeah. You know, like from a creative standpoint, it sounds like things went pretty smoothly. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you on the fact that it does move along at a fair pace. I think for me, when I made the statement earlier that I think there were moments that were sort of a bit flat. I just think there are some scenes in there that are kind of superfluous that could have been pushed into other scenes. And then that still would have worked more effectively, and that would have brought down.
And I understand he did already do that, because I think I read an interview with the production designer who said that the script called for 160 sets, and by the time they actually went to shoot, it was down to 125. Yeah. I just feel like this movie is still like a slave to the past. You have R2-D2 in there, C3PO. Like they're in it for like 2 seconds. Like what's the point? Either move on. Or why are we spending so much time with these new characters and just tell the story that you want to tell with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher? Like, the blend I didn't think really worked. Daisy and Mark are kind of doing their own thing in this movie, and I know that's like the Empire way, the Empire Strikes Back way of doing things, separating the characters and stuff. I'm not a fan of John Boyega's Finn. Just tonally. Let's talk about what I loved, which was Adam Driver. What did you think of him?
I thought he was definitely one of the high points for me in this.
Yeah, I think Adam Driver is just honestly a far better actor than all these people. Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and it shows. I was just really into the movie anytime he was on screen. And for what it's worth, I also like Mark Hamill, who is not a master thespian by any stretch, but he plays this role perfectly.
And it's the strongest sort of, I think outside of Empire, it's the strongest character portrayal and moments in the franchise for the character of Luke Skywalker, and I think he really does run with that.
What do you prefer out of these 3 new movies, Rogue One, Force Awakens, and Last Jedi? What was your favorite?
Rogue One, I think is probably my favorite out of them. I mean, there are the moments in The Force Awakens that just genuinely stirred me, and there was also that thing of the fact that you hadn't had a new Star Wars movie for so long. There was that nostalgia thing, which I think added to the excitement. I really love Force Awakens, but this I think is the most interesting. And it's funny, someone in the chat is saying that people need to stop using the phrase "the movie took risks" because it's a constant complimentary statement. No, I don't think it is. I think sometimes a movie that takes risks is a negative as well as a positive. But no, I mean, I just think Force Awakens for me was, obviously we all know, it was basically a New Hope redone. I think the performances for some of the characters were better in Force Awakens. I think Oscar Isaac was better. John Boyega is great in this. Daisy Ridley is good, but I think Oscar Isaac really was given.
Daisy is good once she gets off, wherever she is.
Yeah, I think sometimes some of the script was a little bit hammy at times, but that's also one of the reasons that I do like Star Wars, because there is that element of cheesy, cliche hamminess.
What do you think of the Porgs?
I actually genuinely enjoyed those. I was very worried that they might become too much of a novelty, but I actually think they're quite
used
good.
the right amount, but I just wanted them used in a different way. I wanted them to have an actual story purpose, and to me, they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with you, and whether we'll see them moving forward in the next film in the series, I don't know. Whether it'll be one of those characters they kind of put in the background. I probably suspect that will be it. It's kind of the gimmick for this film. I don't see it becoming sort of more.
There's a few new additions to this franchise.
Yeah.
I liked Kelly Marie Tran the most of all, I think, as Rose Tico.
Her performance was generally good. I think there were moments that it wasn't quite right when she was kind of getting a feel for the character, but as a character and an addition, I did genuinely really like her.
I just know how many people out there are feeling empowered by seeing an Asian protagonist on the screen, and I think that's really awesome. Benicio del Toro, though, he did nothing for me.
You see, I'm really undecided about that. I thought he was actually a pretty good addition, an interesting character. And I won't say what the character is, because going into this, you have no idea. I'm still on the fence. There were moments when I liked him, and there are moments when I'm like, I think you've just been put in as like a cheeky character. And I don't know what he added to it that they couldn't have done in some other way, or by using characters that we already are aware of that we could have utilized.
Yeah.
Or where they're going to go and use his character much again in the next movie. I don't know. But I thought he was interesting, but I don't think he was necessarily...
Here's the thing that maybe bothered me most, and I'm not... I don't worship her like a lot of film writers do. Laura Dern. I mean, she's just always kind of playing that same kind of bitchy character, like she played on Big Little Lies recently. It seemed like she was just there to give Poe stuff to do. And
yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I actually really liked her character. I just wish. I spoke to her afterwards at the premiere. I really liked her character being in it. I would have liked to have seen it having a bit more. To go a bit further with it, and to have a bit more of feel a bit more integrated into context. I mean, obviously there's a reason why she's there, and I won't explain what that is, but I just would have liked to have seen them go a little bit further with that, give it a little bit more meat on the bones. But I actually, she was something that I really thought was a nice addition.
Again,
I could have given it more though.
I'd give this movie 2.5 stars, I think. But you know, when I go to my blog ranking, and it's like, you know, the standouts, the good movies that should have been better, the movies that were ultimately disappointing. I feel like this one is ultimately disappointing. I thought it could get a Best Picture nomination from everything that I had seen, you know, beforehand from Disney. And I don't think that this is anywhere close to a Best Picture nominee. No,
I totally agree. And as much as I really enjoyed it and I did love it, I had a great amount of fun with it. I'm going to go and see it again because I want to make sure that I'm watching it in the right context and not I was at the Star Wars premiere and isn't it sad that Carrie Fisher's dead kind of melancholy. I do want to go and look at it in a completely different light.
Yeah, I may end up seeing it again.
But I think certainly, I was never really going to peg this as a Best Picture. I think the day that we see a Star Wars movie for Best Picture is we're not there anytime soon. But I think there are a lot of technical things that I think this could potentially be nominated for. Cinematography, I thought was some of the most beautiful pieces of cinema that we've seen this year. Some of the set pieces are truly spectacular.
I think in the end, I still prefer The Force Awakens. I think The Force Awakens is my favorite of the three. As you said, I think that Rogue One sort of has moments.
Yeah.
And this film has moments too, most of which are in the third act. So yeah, that's all I got. And there was no after credit sequence, was there?
I didn't stick around. I wanted to get my phone and go and have a beer.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I'll see. I haven't seen anything about it online, so I don't know. But to be honest with you, I'm like,
okay.
I'll just
So should we move on from the movie? Let's move on. What about give me the box office though?
Okay, so previews for Last Jedi here in the US did 45 million last night. Now to put that in context, comparing it with the other two most recent movies, it's the second biggest Thursday preview ever. Number one is Force Awakens, which was 57. So it's below that, but it's doing okay. As far as the weekend, okay, it's 45 million.
In a fucking night.
I'd say I'm underplaying that slightly. It's very good in one night. Okay, so box office for the weekend, we're looking at 200 million. So those predictions kind of haven't really changed.
Right.
I could see it perhaps going a little bit up from that, but not a huge amount. I think word
so
of
in
mouth
between Force Awakens and Rogue One, it feels like
slap bang because Force Awakens was 248, Rogue One was 155. So that really is kind of right in the middle.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, but I think in the next couple of weeks, I think it'll hold really nicely over Christmas. I think there'll be people who will go and see it. I think it's going to have a very, very strong weekend this weekend. And then it'll be interesting to see what happens as we head into the new year.
It's all about that repeat business. Are the fanboys going to keep coming back?
Yeah.
You know, judging from these early reviews, it doesn't seem like it. But, you know, we'll see.
I think it'll hold well. I mean, I can see certainly over the Christmas period it's staying in the top spot of the box office.
There's not a lot of competition. It's just Jumanji.
Yeah, well, Jumanji, Greatest Showman, Pitch Perfect 3 and The Post coming out. Now, I don't see The Post topping. Greatest Showman, I think, is going to do well. Jumanji, I think, will be the real surprise. That's going to be, for me, in this season. If I'm looking at the top three over the holidays, I think it's going to be Last Jedi. I think it's then going to be Jumanji, then Greatest Showman, and I think then Pitch Perfect 3. That's kind of where I see that line.
Pitch Perfect 3 is going to do better than The Greatest Showman, my friend.
Well, I would like to think. I mean, we've seen both. Well, I've seen both of those. I know we disagree on this, but I really enjoed The Greatest Showman. And
we're not allowed to talk about it. That is under embargo, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. But I tweeted and I said I really enjoyed it.
Right, we were allowed to tweet.
Yeah. But I think there's going to be an audience that'll pick that up. Certainly the mums, the families, the women going out and servicing that part of the audience.
To me, it's just like, it's not, we're thinking about it in terms of Hugh Jackman musical, and those tend to do pretty well or whatever, but it's not Les Mis. It's, you know, it doesn't have the brand cachet. It's an original thing. And I just don't know how many people are excited.
It's lighter than that. It's more
circus movies don't do that well.
Difficult sales. I was thinking that when I was watching it. I mean, it moved me.
Yeah.
But it's very, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where the box office is. Also, Ferdinand's coming out this weekend. That's looking at about 15 million. I was not a fan of Ferdinand. I had quite high hopes.
I can't believe you have to go see something like Ferdinand.
I was working on it for E, so I went to see it. I probably wouldn't have.
Got to bring home that bacon.
And then also sneaking out, that probably no one will notice, is Beyond Skyline, the sequel to that terrible sci-fi movie that was out a couple of years ago. But apparently it's very good. But I have literally heard nothing about this, and it's sneaking out now opposite Star Wars. So It'll be on VOD soon, and I'll catch it then.
Speaking of VOD, I just have to say, last night I spent 99 cents to watch Better Watch Out. Have you seen this movie?
No.
It's like a twisted...
Jeff, actually, sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I actually saw this about 2 days ago.
Yeah? What'd you think?
I liked it.
It was good.
I liked it.
It was like the best 99 cents I've ever spent.
Yeah, it was off of... I streamed it off Shudder. It was a Shudder exclusive. Yeah, it was a really great film.
It was like a twisted Home Alone. All right. Nice. Speaking of Home Alone, that is the studio. That is a movie from Fox.
Yeah.
Fox, bought by Disney. First of all, there's all kinds of numbers, you know, when you count in the stock and all this stuff. It was like, was it 52 billion? Was it 66 billion?
Yeah.
I don't know how many billions it was, but it was a lot of billions. Disney is now... has now bought Fox. It's just subject to regulatory approvals, the DOJ, all that stuff, and this one is expected to go through, even though some people have objected, not to the extent of like a Warner Brothers AT&T merger.
Yeah.
Man, obviously a lot of huge implications. Huge.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the human element, which is that a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, which is sad
in an industry that is already
contracting and compressing and. It is a sad reality of the biz, and there's obviously a lot of overlap between, the marketing, distribution, production teams at Disney and Fox. But from, the rumors that Fox will be basically folded into Disney as a label to make sort of edgier fare. Yeah. Stuff like Alien and Predator and Die Hard and Kingsman and, that kind of stuff. And it sounds like Fox Searchlight will also stick around. So, because they do something really well. They have a certain skill set that very few people, I think, in Hollywood have. And Disney would love to be back in the awards game, I think. Chris Tapley did a good story about that at Variety yesterday. The studio's never been big in the awards game. It's never been that big of a player. And now if it comes in armed with Fox Searchlight, which is having a really good year between Shape of Water and 3 Billboards, they're back in the mix. What were your big sort of takeaways, Simon?
I mean, I don't see this kind of takeover merger, whichever way you want to label it. I think they are generally very rarely good for the industry.
It's bad. It's one less buyer.
Yeah, it's one less buyer, and I think it means that if you got, in any release window, it means that one body is going to monopolize. And I think that's unfair, especially when you've got the likes of Sony, who've had kind of a difficult time, bar the odd release. You've got the difficulty then of people like Paramount, who've had a very big time. And Universal have had... They've done, they have certainly have their hits, but it hasn't exactly been a stunning year for them. And Warner are doing, they're doing good. But I don't think, and it always concerns me with this kind of thing. I think also sort of with regards to just in the physicality of Hollywood, you have just being on the Fox lot this week. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Disney going to be leasing it. I mean, are they going to move up to Burbank? Are Disney going to move down to their studios? Are they going to keep it on as an ongoing concern? I think there's a lot of heritage that comes with that. I think it's going to be, there's going to be an option. We discussed this previously with some really strong franchises coming across, which I think is going to be very good. But I think that can make Disney a little bit lazy because they then don't have to come up with any new IPs, any new ideas, because a lot of this groundwork is already done, which I think creatively is not great for the industry because it's more of the same. And, audiences are already showing...
Great point.
Audiences are already showing that they want
stifles
fresh,
innovation
stuff.
A little bit.
So I think that's a problem. I think as far as money behind it, I think it means that potentially because you've got things like Fox Searchlight coming in, Disney, when they want to dip their toe in creative content, they now would not be able to do that under Disney. They were previously able to do that under the likes of Touchstone and Buena Vista, but really sort of lower level movies they could push out. They moved away from that. We could see Disney doing those smaller mid-range releases, which the industry is kind of lacking, sort of the $30 to $50 million budget movies. So I think that could be quite interesting. I just think it's a shame because Fox has been such a big part of the Hollywood landscape, which we are going to, it's still going to be kind of in existence, but it's not going to be
really
the same
just as
thing.
a label, and to go from a 6 major town to a 5 major town is a big difference. I mean, but now Disney controls, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Will they be integrated into the Avengers? Will that completely change Marvel's Phase 4 plans now that they have access to these characters. I think rebooting and recasting Wolverine is going to be a priority.
I would be amazed if Disney don't put a Wolverine movie out in the next 3-4 years. I'd be absolutely stunned.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. It sounds like, you know, this deal is not going to fully come to fruition for 12 to 18 months. That's what the Disney CFO said. And really, you know, after that 18 months, then you can start doing stuff. So it could be another 6 months to a year after that.
Yeah.
So these movies, basically what I was saying is something like Gambit, I think, will end up being made. I had my doubts before because I thought the deal would just. So I guess I was forgetting about all the regulatory hurdles that it would have to jump through. But yeah, I think a movie like Gambit is safe. I don't know if you'll start seeing like maybe that full New Mutants trilogy though. You know, that Josh Boone's been talking about.
But
we'll
also,
see.
like I was saying, I mean, Disney has, because of its branding and because of its the way that it's positioned itself in the industry, it might be a chance for them to do some darker, more adult stuff, which will then be more of a natural fit because it's going to be part of their DNA. Maybe we could say, I mean, I'm not hopeful. I think they probably more than likely want to close the door on that. But I think it would be if there is something that they had toyed with the idea of doing, now it enables them to do that with less of a risk. It kind of lays down the groundwork for that. But I just think it's a shame, you know, and it is going to change. I mean, just from an industry point of view, you say a lot of people are going to move their jobs. There are going to be production jobs that are going to be lost. I think there are going to be people who, if you go to the Fox lot ever, a lot of you guys unfortunately won't have had that luxury. A lot of the people on the Fox lot are these sort of independent production companies and production houses and directors they have deals with. They're going to have to find a new home now. You know, and do you get the Disney situation where you're on the main lot, or do you get put out in Glendale, which is kind of like on the outside? It's like what do you do? Where's your positioning? Where's your home in the industry now? And I think from a press point of view, I think it makes it a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more difficult because all the ball and the control over products and stuff is
right.
And especially as well with net neutrality, I think is going to really affect the online film journalism. We'll get to this later, but the film journalism stuff where a lot of people have blogs and stuff like that and small websites, the ones that currently are doing okay and existing, I think that's going to affect as well. And I think if you've got people who then form editorial and advertising alliances with certain brands over other brands, you then get people being locked out, which I don't think then is necessarily a good thing. Can be a good thing because a lot of the quality of the low-lying fruit in the online journalism stuff is really kind of needs to it's hobbyist stuff, and it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Movie fans have sort of become movie critics for better or worse.
There are agencies that rely on relationships with these studios. They have a studio with either Fox or they have Disney. Now, obviously, you can't have two opposing agencies working on the same, so that's going to be agency side is going to be difficult as well. And from an agent point of view, where a lot of people who have talent that are aligned with certain studios, they have picture deals or they have agreements, all that stuff is back on the table up for negotiation now. So we're going to see a little shift in that bit as well, which, you know, it's difficult to know exactly which way that's going to fall over the next sort of 18 months, 2 years, but potentially that could cause problems because they have the ball is more in the studio court than the star.
One group of people who will be happy, though, is theater owners, because Disney has been so protective of the theatrical experience with their movies. You can now expect that will extend to Fox, you know, their Fox titles.
Can be more difficult for other studios to get those screens now.
Right, because now Disney can like Disney movies sort of get a sweetheart deal with theater owners because they drive so much business, and will Disney now sort of demand those same terms for its Fox films? That will be interesting to see. So yeah, a lot at stake there, and I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty of stories over the coming months about how it's all going to shake out.
And also with sort of the digital side of the business, obviously we know that Disney are doing their own Netflix with all their content coming off Netflix and Amazon and stuff like that. So I think then to see if they look at doing something like that with Fox, or they're going to put Fox in with that as well. So that could be quite interesting to see.
Okay, we got a lot of show left. We still have to get to our top 10s. Let's just run down the news really quickly.
Okay, cool.
There's going to be a 48 Hours remake.
There is.
From the Safdie Brothers with Gerard Carmichael starring. Is this a good idea or a horrible one?
No, I say leave this alone. I mean, I love 48 Hours. You know, Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy together. That's an absolute great thing. I just don't. I wasn't feeling this.
I love 48 Hours. It is really where I did a thesis paper in college about interracial buddy cop movies and stuff like that.
Cool.
And it all really started, you know, or at least one of the forefathers is certainly 48 hours. I just this formula, the premise is so broad. Why don't the Safdies just go and create their own buddy cop movie with Gerard Carmichael? Why do they need to take advantage, you know, and play on that? Basically exploit the IP, the 48 hours IP. Why link it to that? Have all the comparisons. You're not going to win that. Gerard Carmichael is not going to win that with Eddie Murphy. Sorry. And the Safdies, again, I respect these guys. I didn't love Good Time. I thought it hit a wall halfway through and went off the rails, but the first half was a masterpiece. These guys just don't strike me as really big commercial filmmakers. I don't know if they think like that, and it's going to be. I'm very curious to see if this A, ever happens, and B, what the hell it looks like when it does.
Yeah. It certainly, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. What else? Woody Harrelson joined Venom. Nobody knows what the role is.
No bad thing.
Could he be playing Carnage?
Potentially.
He wouldn't be bad. Yeah, I don't know. So no clue what that role is, but I love Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, even in films.
What a cast for that movie!
It's really, really strong.
Holy shit,
really strong.
Sony's definitely deserves some credit for that one.
He adds something to everything that he's in. I mean, he's been in a couple of movies this year that I didn't like, but I liked him in them. So I think it's a good bet.
Stranger Things star Finn Wolfhard is joining Mackenzie Davis in The Turning, a little supernatural movie. I like both those actors. Regina Hall from Girls Trip is joining the Shaft movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
As Sam Jackson's ex-wife or wife or whatever. Stephen Cable Jr., whose movie The Land I never got around to seeing, but I'd heard good things. He's going to be stepping in to direct Creed 2
instead of Sylvester Stallone.
Right, and I need to make some calls on this. I'm very curious as to what happened there. I don't think Stallone was ever really right for the director's chair on this project.
Okay.
I think he has a certain style that maybe fits the Rocky movies, but this is a Creed movie.
Yep.
So congrats to Stephen Cable Jr. Coming out of Sundance and getting a big job like that.
I would still like to see him do a bit more directing though, because when he brings it home, he really brings it home.
Dude, he has a movie with Adam Driver where Adam Driver I think is playing like a paraplegic or something like that, like a soldier.
Oh, okay.
And I would really like to see that get made. Actually, that sounds really interesting. Guillermo del Toro's directing a remake of Nightmare Alley that Kim Morgan is co-writing. That's kind of cool. She's one of us. And he's also producing this movie Antlers that has Scott Cooper in negotiations to direct. He's got Hostels out this month, which isn't bad. Did you see it?
No.
I liked it. You know, it's not great. It's not perfect, but it may be the best thing he's done. Scott Cooper. Will Smith producing a movie about Michael Jordan's detour into baseball. That was on the blacklist. Do you follow the blacklist at all?
A little bit.
Yeah, we pay pretty close attention to that and the tracking board's hit lists and everything. And do you know Anna Klassen at Bustle? She had a big J.K. Rowling biopic on it. That was like 6th on the list. It's pretty cool. There's also a John Hughes biopic in development on there.
I would love to see that.
There's a lot of cool stuff, so check out the blacklist over on the tracking board site. Andy Muschietti is teaming up with the Russo brothers on something called The Electric State.
I saw this. I know very little about it, but I like the Russo
I don't really know.
So.
I couldn't really get a handle for the project based on the logline and stuff, but that's an intriguing pairing coming off of it. And then Killer Be Killed is being turned into a movie. I don't read many comics. I read Saga, and I read Killer Be Killed, so I'm kind of excited to see that on the big screen. Simon, what joined the National Film Registry?
Okay, quite a few things, actually. Couple of interesting ones. Memento, Christopher Nolan's Memento. It's now actually the most recent release that's on the National Film Registry, because you basically have to qualify as in your creativity, importance of your film, but you also have to be released at least 10 years ago.
Does Memento hold up for you?
No.
Yeah, it's not a movie I really go back to.
I remember when it came out, everybody kind of, they kind of went crazy for it, but I think it came at the right time.
It's a clever movie. It's a clever movie that you see once.
Yeah.
And you're blown away by, but it's not a movie like The Usual Suspects, where it's not just about the twist.
I totally agree.
Yeah, The Usual Suspects I could watch a zillion times.
But I mean, you know me.
Maybe not now.
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with some of Chris Nolan's movies anyway. Some that I love more than others by quite some margin. Titanic was also in there. Superman,
King of the World,
was in there. Goonies was in there, and Die Hard, Dumbo.
Oh, that was Die Hard not in there yet.
Well, I know it's Spartacus this year. I thought Spartacus was already in the registry, but no. Also, what I didn't realise was there's actually, and I wrote a piece on this for Forbes. If you go to Forbes and search my name, you can every year, members of the public can nominate movies to be considered for next year. So if you ever, when a lot of people say, oh my God, nobody ever asked the public on these, this is actually one of those things that you can get involved in. So if there's a film over 10 years that you want to nominate and you can justify why you think it should at least be considered next year, you really should have a think about that and do it. There's a link in the piece that I wrote for Forbes. But yeah, some interesting ones in there that I genuinely thought would have been in the registry already. But I'm really pleased to see, like, I know they're kind of puff movies, they're not like masterpieces, but I'm just really glad to see the things like Die Hard, Goonies, Superman being, you know, saved and
not everything needs to be a Kurosawa film,
absolutely,
you know?
And I think people forget that sometimes, so I was really pleased with that. Also this week, it was announced that Oprah is going to receive the Cecil B. DeMille Award, which is great.
Oprah and I breathed the same air the other night, you know. At that Marshall screening.
Did you get a car?
She hosted it. So Oprah was actually sick. She wasn't shaking hands.
She's not a big handshake.
So she was elbow bumping. She was doing the elbow bump. Yeah, okay. I don't know if the sick thing was just a cover.
I've met her a couple of times this year. And
probably, I wouldn't want to be touching everybody's
like
hand
Denzel.
either if I was
Denzel's
her.
not either. Yeah. Also, if you meet Denzel, don't touch him on his body. He really doesn't. Don't try and touch him. He doesn't like that. But also, Universal passed $5 billion at the global box office this week, thanks to the like of Despicable Me 3.
We're going to send them a muffin basket.
Yeah, I think we will. So congratulations. But I mean, I did obviously Fate of the Furious really helped them again this year. A couple of really strong movies, the likes of Split.
They're the steadiest, most consistent studio.
But Fate of the Furious Disney was one of the weaker films of the summer for me. I was really looking forward to it. I do like the franchise. It was one of their offbeat ones, one of their off years in that franchise.
We're going to spend
still did well, though.
a couple minutes talking about the Globes, and then we're going to get into top tens. Any big surprises for you with the Globe nominations? I mean, between that and SAG, how is Jake Gyllenhaal not getting nominated? What is wrong with people?
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about this when we do the top tens, but Stronger this year was one of the most, contained so many excellent performances and was such a well-made movie. I'm genuinely pissed that he's not getting more recognition.
How does, like, Kumail Nanjiani not get a Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical nod? How does The Greatest Showman get in over The Big Sick? I know you liked it more than me. But
I did, but I
mean, this is like apples and oranges here. Fucking The Big Sick is a great movie, and I just can't believe that the HFPA went for for The Greatest Showman. What else? Yeah, Wonder Woman got shut out. Were you surprised by that? You think that if anybody was going to go for it, it would have been the Globes?
Not entirely. I mean, we've had this. We've had the discussion with Kroll a number of times as well. It's like I don't really see. I have never seen that as anything other than technical awards when it comes to award season this year. I don't think it's going to be like, I'm kind of disappointed for Patty that she hasn't got a Best Director nomination. But do I think she's one of the best directors this year? She's on the list, but she's not on shortlist.
That's the thing. There was a lot of lot of talk about how the Globes snubbed all the female directors. It's like I feel like I'm gonna get myself in trouble even saying this, which is fucked up because I'm just expressing an opinion. But there were no, like, I know Greta Gerwig did a good job with Lady Bird, but I didn't think any of the people who I would really put up for Best Director were female directors.
No, I would 100%.
I'm sorry.
I would 100% agree, and I think the thing is with this, we have to be careful that even though we both are very big supporters of women in the industry and female directors, and right through the production tree, but if you have a cause like this that you are trying to fight, there is few things that harm it more than tokenism.
Yeah.
And, you don't just... Otherwise, you completely defeat the purpose. And they have done fantastic jobs. And, we obviously felt differently about Detroit this year, but Catherine Bigelow, again... But, I mean, you can't... It really defeats the purpose of supporting women in film if you're just going to go, you're in it because you're a woman. I just don't think amongst the films this year...
the women want that either.
No, I agree. I agree.
Exactly. I love Catherine Bigelow. I think she's incredibly talented. Yeah. I've been a huge fan... For I can't even remember how long, but I hated Detroit, and so
I know you did.
Yeah, it's like if people think that she should be nominated for Best Director,
do you know how we get moved towards having more women nominated as Best Director? If we have more women in the industry,
more women directing, period,
and they just direct more films, period.
Absolutely,
yeah. And then they get it there because they're the best films, directed by them rather than
it's just
purely
like
because
I wanted to respond to some of these articles and you know, tweets sort of putting that out there, but you can't even do that. You can't even have the conversation these days.
It's very
so
difficult.
Why
it's
even
very
bother?
difficult.
Yep.
But I agree with you on that.
Anything from SAG? Oh, right, the Post got shut out. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I was very surprised.
And the Globes honored All the Money in the World, which they got, you know, the HFPA got an early peek at the unfinished film.
I did think the Post was going to be nominated purely because of who's in it and the heritage behind that movie, and also the current political climate. I was very surprised. It's one of my favorite films of the year, but I was very surprised.
Here's the other one I wanted to talk about, which also I wanted to weigh in on, but it's too fucking dangerous.
Okay.
Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out getting a SAG nomination over Jake Gyllenhaal and Daniel Day-Lewis. This is insanity. Like, I don't know. Like, things have gone too far. Like, he's good in the movie.
Yeah.
And so the argument was,
100%.
well, if he's good, why doesn't he deserve a nomination? It's not about deserving a nomination. A lot of people do nomination-worthy work each year.
Yep.
And I was really impressed with Daniel Kaluuya, who I've been paying attention to a lot longer than fucking you. But to say that he was better than Jake Gyllenhaal or Daniel Day-Lewis is just not true.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Yeah. You can be very good, but just not.
I know
make
that
the
these
list.
are opinions.
Yeah.
But like, are they? Are they really? So
no, I mean I totally agree. I mean I think Jake should have been, and also Miranda Richardson should have got a nod. Jake's co-star, I think she was excellent in Stronger.
I'm okay with that one. I love Stronger, as you'll see.
But yeah, Jake, I'm just amazed that Jake is not getting the nods. But I'm still really pissed that audiences haven't backed that. In the UK as well, it just got released in the UK, and it's like the number 10 released movie last week with quite, you know, very disappointing box office. I don't know why people aren't engaging with this movie. It's one of the best films of the year, in my opinion. But you know, with great performances.
Should we move on to our top 10s?
Let's do it. Top 10.
All right, guys. This is it. This is the last segment of the show for 2017. We're going to run it down from honorable mention and then 10 to 1, and then we're going to sign off.
Okay.
So do you want to start or should I?
Are we just doing best? We're not doing worst of the year.
No.
Okay.
No, let's not do worst.
Okay. So my honorable mentions. Let's get that out of the way first of all. Wonder Woman, Thor Ragnarok, The Beguiled, Dunkirk, It, and Gifted are my honorable mentions that did not make my top 10.
Okay. My honorable mention is going to go to The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I thought was the best horror movie of the year. All due respect to Get Out and certainly It. You know, it's not a horror movie on its face, but it was a psychological horror movie. I thought Yorgos Lanthimos just did a great job, sort of. It just holding me in the grip of his hand. Like he was a master of tone, and Barry Keoghan was really creepy as hell. So
I have unfortunately not been able to see that yet, but I will do.
Check it out
very soon.
All right, here we go.
Let's
the top 10 list. Number 10, Simon Thompson.
The Post. Directed by Steven Spielberg, starring
what'd you love about it?
Newcomers Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. I just, even though it is a film that has things that I didn't particularly love, I think it's a very timely movie. I thought it was one of the best films that Steven Spielberg has done as a director in the last sort of 10 years. I think cinematography was fantastic. I thought Meryl Streep's performance was very measured. Sometimes she really went, you know, the range, the color in her performance was great. When she needed to go full force, she could, and then she needed to hold it back. I thought Tom Hanks was just brilliant. I thought also the supporting cast did an exemplary job with this. And it's a movie that it's a little bit slow to start, and I liked that fact that it does, you know, build throughout the film. And at the end, it just is a film that really left me satisfied, and I feel that it delivered. And it did, I think, what it set out to do. And I think also to make a film of that quality within the time that they were able to do it, I think that also has to be considered, because it's not easy to make a film of that quality in that amount of time, especially when you look at Hollywood, and we mentioned this the other week, where people can spend 2 years making a movie and it simply doesn't deliver creatively, narratively, or performance-wise. So that's why.
We'll probably have to keep it a little bit shorter, yeah, because we got 20 movies to basically get through. But I certainly respected the post a little bit more than I outright loved it. It did really, though, capture the button of that feeling when you're about to push the button on a big story. My number 10 is going to be a surprising one. I always like to save the 10 spot on my list for a smaller film, and I'm going with Shock Collar. I had a great time with Shock Collar. It was I loved it. I thought it was gritty, ballsy. Nikolai Coster-Waldau really impressed me. It was just the kind of B movie that I love to see. So
cool.
Number 9 for me, War for the Planet of the Apes. This is how you do a tentpole right. I thought it was beautifully performed, rendered. I loved the score. I loved Andy Serkis's Caesar. I just thought Matt Reeves did a great job with this.
My number 9 is War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, baby, an agreement. Finally, this is maybe the only time we agree today.
I think it probably is, actually. Yeah.
What did you love about it?
Everything, to be honest with you. I love the franchise anyway. I have right through from the original movies, not the Tim Burton one, but that's understandable. And to me, again, I think this really moved the franchise on very nicely. Consistently strong performances. I think just everything was delivered with heart. It had that little bit of levity in there as well. It was just a brilliantly balanced and hugely captivating movie. Should have done better at the box office this year. I think it was criminal that it didn't. It did well, but it could have done better. And I just genuinely, again, just left me very satisfied.
Really just it's quite a feat. Yeah. You know, these apes, you really think they're real up there.
Yeah.
Number 8 for you.
Baby Driver.
Whew. Okay.
Yeah, Baby Driver. It's a film that I was not sure. I'm a fan of Edgar's work. This, to me, it just ticked all the boxes. I thought there were some great performances. I would have liked to see some of the characters given a little bit more to do. I think some of them were wasted, but I think the way that it was cut, visually, I really liked it. I thought the tone was excellent, and I really liked that ensemble cast. And I think Edgar did a really, really excellent job with this.
I thought that movie went off the rails in the third act. I can't believe Ansel got a nomination over Kumail. That's wild. Number 8, The Florida Project for me. I just thought it was so alive, so full of feeling. There's such humanity in Sean Baker's work. I like how he casts his projects. It was a really wonderful kind of slice of life movie. So check out The Florida Project if you haven't seen it. Number 7 for me is going to be The Disaster Artist.
Okay.
I caught this one with just the right crowd, Midnight Madness in Toronto, which maybe played into how much I liked it. But I did rewatch it recently, and it held up. I just think there's a lot of heart, and then I love the message that it sends with guys who come out to Hollywood, and the town says, "Listen, there's no place for you here." And they say, "No, we're gonna stick around. We're gonna do it on our own." And it's a really touching movie about friendship. So The Disaster Artist was my number 7. What was yours?
Logan.
All right.
Yeah,
that'll be on my list a little bit later.
Consistently strong in every way, and I really like the fact that, especially within the Marvel universe, again, for similar reasons that I like The Last Jedi, it did something really different. It took quite a few risks, pushing it darker, pushing it harder, and it was just such a satisfying film right across the board, from performances, visuals, etc.
Number 6 for you.
The Disaster Artist.
All right.
Yeah, again, for exactly the same reasons that you liked it. That film gave me so much joy. There are only a handful of films this year that have moved me in a positive way, that either had me smiling or laughing or crying, and this was one of those. I was grinning like a twat all the way through that movie.
Grinning like a twat. That'll be on A24's Twitter feed in no time. My number 6 is I, Tonya. I've seen this Fargo-esque dark comedy a handful of times now. I thought it was funny, sad, and maybe just the most entertaining movie I've seen all year. It was like a close kin to Fargo. I thought Margot Robbie was tremendous. Alison Janney was terrific. Really like Sebastian Stan and Paul Walter Hauser.
I'm looking forward to catching that. I haven't done that yet. Just in the chat on the fact that we both had Disaster Artist, Don Draper saying it only pays off if you care about The Room, and he doesn't. I have to be honest with you, I had never seen The Room.
I still haven't seen The Room.
I genuinely love the film as a film.
Yeah, that doesn't play into it at all.
With that.
Number 5 for me was Logan.
Okay.
I just thought this is how you do a comic book movie, man. I don't love comic book movies, but this one was tremendous. It had real depth and feeling and weight to it. And Hugh Jackman, believe it or not, I never ever would have thought I would have be saying this right now. top 5 male lead performances of the year.
Agree. Number 5 for me is The Big Sick. It was higher in my chart. And this is a film I've watched a number of times since I saw it originally, but I think there have been a couple of movies that came out in the last couple of months that just slightly pipped it, and it's very close to the top of mine. But yeah, I mean, The Big Sick, it just kept me so happy. I thought it did something different. It was really human. The performances were great. Really nice, subtle direction. And it was just a really even movie. It was so consistent. It gave me so much joy.
Number 4?
Number 4 is Stronger. I harped on about this a number of times. I thought the performances were great. I thought the direction was great. It was a film that moved me to tears on more than one occasion. And it's just a phenomenal piece of cinema this year.
Number 4 for me was Patty Cakes. If there was any new director who really impressed me the most this year, it was Jeremy Jasper. I thought he crushed it with this. This movie made me laugh. It made me cry. It made me want to rap. And yeah, Danielle McDonald really impressed me. The whole cast did, including Bridget Everett. Yeah, Patty Cakes. It's a little gem. So seek that out on iTunes.
Somewhere. I really did.
Number 3 for me was Call Me by Your Name. I thought it was beautiful, romantic, lush with feeling. I just adored it. Timothy Chalamet, Breakthrough Actor of the Year. This is Armie Hammer's best work for sure, and Michael Stuhlbarg, I think, deserves the Best Supporting Actor Oscar.
100%.
Yeah, I just thought this was excellent.
Number 3 for me is Get Out.
Okay.
That was my second favorite film of the year. It's a film that, and there are only a handful of these films this year for me. Sorry, third. It's in third place. Get Out.
Okay.
It was in my second place.
I see.
But yeah, it just did something completely new. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought performances were great. Awards worthy, I don't know, but again, it's one of the few films this year that I've actually rewatched.
And number 2?
Number 2, The Florida Project.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was a film that I was not expecting. I don't know why it just resonated with me so much. I thought it was just such a honest and open film with brilliant performances that people who work in Hollywood for like 20, 30 years sometimes don't turn in performances this solid. I thought Willem Dafoe was great as well. I mean, everything about this film I genuinely really loved. My
number 2 was The Big Sick, which I just thought was more consistently delightful than Call Me by Your Name. Call Me by Your Name kind of packs a bigger punch at the end. But God, I thought Kumail really asserted himself and proved himself a leading man to watch with this role. I love the script. It was maybe the best script of the year. I loved Ray Romano and Holly Hunter as the parents. This was just a joy. And credit to Michael Showalter, who really has not gotten enough credit this award season. Number 1, Simon, give it to me.
My number 1 film of the year is Call Me by Your Name.
Wow.
This has been a very mixed year for film, and there are only a handful of films that have genuinely stayed with me for long after I have watched them. And Call Me by Your Name is one of them. That to me is just beautiful. You feel like you're not watching a movie. You feel like you're a fly on the wall, like you're in that room. It was just an absolute triumph. And I think just the last 5 or 10 minutes alone affect you in more ways. Certainly for any other film I've seen this year, it just destroyed me. I love that film. I did not know where that was going to rank for me, but that's my film of the year.
And my number 1 movie is, as you might have guessed, Stronger. I know I'm biased, being from Boston, but I was just super impressed and bowled over by this movie. I think it's David Gordon Green at the peak of his powers. Jake Gyllenhaal just blew me away. Tatiana Maslany impressed me. You know, she's not an actress who I'd really seen a lot of her work because I don't watch Orphan Black. Miranda Richardson, the whole ensemble, whether it's Lenny Clark or Clancy Brown, like I just thought this movie was terrific. And if it had come out in 1972 and starred somebody like Dustin Hoffman, the 1972 Dustin Hoffman, we'd still be talking about it today as a classic. I just all the choices that David makes were great. So I think we had 7 of the same movies. So Stronger, The Big Sick, Call Me by Your Name, Logan,
Get Out,
The Disaster Artist, The Florida Project, War for the Planet of the Apes. No, Get Out was not on my list.
Oh, is it not?
No. So 7 out of 10 we agreed on?
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's more than
impressive.
Previous years.
Did you think it was a good year overall for 2017
no,
for movies?
I didn't. And box office has reflected that as well. But I think it was a great year for some really good storytelling. There are some films I'm just disappointed that audiences didn't engage with. We have to ask questions about why that is. But no, I mean, genuinely, I thought there was way more middling this year.
I think I'll agree with that.
There was fewer genuinely bad movies, a lot more middling, and then it was actually quite difficult to put together my top 10 this year. Not because it's like, what do I put in? It's like, how do I round it out to 10? And that 10th spot was quite difficult.
I didn't struggle so much with the top 10 list as much as I did my upcoming If I Had a Ballot feature. Just filling out like the 5th slot on both Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor was kind of tough.
But if you look at all those, both of our 10s,
great year for female performances,
really
though.
good.
I will say that much. There was a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get one more today with Michelle Williams and All the Money in the World, which I'm seeing.
It's interesting to see that how similar our lists are this year.
Yeah.
And also the fact that how diverse those films are in the kind of movie they delivered.
And Lady Bird was not on either one.
It was not. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I didn't want to just shove it in there to be a thing. But I haven't seen it yet. But I don't know if it would make the top 10. It would have to be exceptional. Okay. So, final show.
That'll do it.
That's it.
That'll do it, big guy. Any New Year's resolutions?
No.
To see more movies?
No. Probably. I think that is it. Actually, I kind of held back on that a bit this year, but I've only seen them because I had to for work rather than seeking them out. While we're off, there's a couple of big movies coming out: Pitch Perfect 3, The Greatest Showman, Jumanji, and The Post, which we can't review. A lot of those are under embargo. But yeah, we're going to be really interesting to keep an eye on that over the holidays. But what are your plans? You're going back to Boston, right?
Nope. I'm staying here. Staycation. Gonna enjoy myself.
Nice.
Catch up on Dark and some Netflix stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to sit my ass down when there's no work for like 4 or 5 days. And I'm going to catch up on a load of stuff that I've missed.
Eat a lot of jingle jangle.
Jingle jangle, yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for watching us this year on the Popcorn Talk Network.
It is appreciated.
Make sure to spread the word along with the holiday cheer. Rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We appreciate your viewership.
We do. And if you like it, do tell everybody. Because a lot of you do interact with us either on the comments on YouTube afterwards or on Twitter. But it's great that we have this conversation with you, but let's take it outside of that and get other people to watch it. We get a lot of compliments on the show. Help us increase our audience. You can be the guy that tell people about this great show that you love so much. Be that guy. We would appreciate it.
Simon, where can the good folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShowbizSimon, same on Instagram, and I have a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson.
And I'm Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board, tracking-board.com. Lots of exciting things coming to that site in the new year. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @TheInSneider, and watch me on the Schmodown next week. The Schmodown Spectacular, December 22nd, taking down Drew McWeeny and Sam Levine. I'm coming for you, boys. Everybody, have a happy New Year, a Merry Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate. You just met the movie press.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.